When the medical system have failed to take care of us in quarantine, when patients line the hallways and crowd the doors. Hospitals are forced into impossible life or death decisions. Many simply died in local hospitals, waiting for treatment. We still need healthcare, even if doctors are forced to refuse patients. We must fight back with this terrible nightmare, taking the sword to save our life, going back to old school way. Going back to the history 1,000 years back when people used to take care of their families to cure so many diseases, infections without any doctors and hospitals, using simple home remedies, organic way. We have to save our life. We have to save our families. Because we can't wait watching our families dying every day like this in the year 2020. This is crazy. In this modern world we become so much materialistic. We do not have patience. The problem is gradually we are losing our humanity and naturality among us. We are ready to go for so many hospitals, waiting for the doctors even though our families are still dying. Rather we should trust on ourselves. We will never be happy if we continue hold on to the things that make us sad. We have to change our thoughts that we are learning already at present after losing so many lives from COVID-19. I hate that word, seriously. I wish I could destroy that. With the latest virus, there are similar scenes of overcrowded hospitals. In impacted areas, hospitals are already overrun with patients not getting the attention they need. Many with pre-existing life-threatening conditions are being told to leave and fend for themselves, to make room for those with the virus. The deeper problem with overrun hospitals is how many go to get tested for their symptoms, but that run the risk of getting infected while there. Hospital-acquired infections are already one of the thorniest problems for the healthcare system. And that's before considering a viral epidemic. The truth is, healthcare facilities become a prime source of infection during an epidemic. My questions is how many days, how many lives will be gone from this virus? How many people and families will be homeless and jobless? One Harvard epidemiologist estimates between 40 to 70% of the world population will be impacted. I am not here to give one by one bad news. But I want to help you. Let me help me to help you. So in this video I am going to introduce Doctor's Book of Survival Home Remedies. Is developed and promoted by the esteemed Dr. John Herzog, a third-generation board-certified physician and orthopedic surgeon and University of New England Medical School professor. I am just putting few informations out of many informations from Doctor's Book of Survival Home Remedies. For example, how do I stay healthy? Not having access to the healthcare system. How can I manage my symptoms? How can I treat infections? How can I get access to medications for my conditions? How to opt out and be healthier than ever. Get their hands on a simple, reliable, and easy way to opt out of the medical system and yet be healthier than ever in a crisis situation. Hi, my name is Dr. John Herzog. I'm a third-generation board-certified physician and orthopedic surgeon. I spent the last 30 years of my life diagnosing and treating all kinds of ailments. And fixing torn ligaments, removing tumors, treating infections, and pretty much everything else you can think of. And I'm here to tell you that the entire medical system has been failed, as the virus is recognized as unknown still. Americans may live longer by a couple months. But the last 10 years are not expected to be healthy. We're in big trouble here. And the truth is, it's gotten so bad. With far too many patients losing their lives, or that are at risk of dying for no good reason. That I've had enough. Which is why 2 years ago, I threw up my hands and opted out. Walking away from the hospital where I'd worked for the past 25 years. In any crisis, everyone deserves access to the most effective, science-backed remedies that can treat and prevent a virtual encyclopedia of health problems in any crisis. That way, if drug stores are closed or looted, if hospitals and clinics are overrun, if getting a doctor on the phone is impossible, if the medical system implodes. Consider this, for peace of mind. Imagine the peace of mind that comes from having the scientifically backed medical information to weather any storm, survive any crisis, outlast any health scare. Healthier, safer, and with more energy and vitality. All without needing a broken system one bit. So let's go ahead and get started right now. Because frankly, there's not a second to lose. Why did I leave it all behind? Like I mentioned, my name is Dr. John Herzog. I'm a third-generation board-certified physician and orthopedic surgeon. I happily followed in my father's and grandfather's footsteps, treating thousands of sports injuries involving knees, hips, and shoulders. I've diagnosed and treated all sorts of degenerative diseases like osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, and fibromyalgia. I've served as the team physician for the USM hockey team, as well as serving as professor at the University of New England Medical School. I've also published multiple articles in professional journals addressing lower back pain, arthritis, how to feed your bones, as well as pioneering advances in the treatment of osteoarthritis. So, what made me throw up my hands and opt out of the medical system after decades helping create it? How I met the moose? Well, one weekend 2 years ago, I was driving my 1976 Toyota Land Cruiser deep into the backwoods of Maine. The Beatles pulsing through my speakers. I'd left my office feeling like a king, heading to an exclusive lodge for a long weekend of fly fishing, juicy porterhouse steaks, and fine wine. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in a hospital room, on life support. You see, I was accelerating around a corner, singing along to Sgt. Pepper's. When out of nowhere, I hit a 1,500-pound moose head-on. Ironically, I was only a couple miles away from my destination, Moosehead Lake. After an ambulance ride I don't remember, I woke up in a hospital room with wires crisscrossing my body and machines beeping behind the bed. With my injuries, and with how remote my accident was, I felt lucky to be alive. But it felt strange at first to be on the other side of the medical system, the one receiving care, instead of giving it. I soon realized I had a long road to recovery ahead of me. It was during my recovery that I started to have a profound shift in my perspective. Just a day before, I'd been a know-it-all doctor. Now, I was a helpless patient. I expected to feel safe and secure while I healed. But my confidence in the system soon started to erode. I'd always thought of our medical system as the best in the world. You know, built like Fort Knox. But I began to see it for what it was. A sandcastle, ready to crumble at the smallest wave. The first vulnerability I noticed was something most Americans take for granted: the electrical grid. And, like I mentioned earlier, the entire medical system hinges on access to power, but without nearly enough redundancies. So, what would have been my fate if the power had failed while I was on life support? Would the hospital be able to keep my machines on? What about the thousands of other patients in just that one hospital? Who becomes expendable? Throw in an epidemic, like the latest flu, flying in from overseas, and the sandcastle gets washed away by the straw that broke the camel's back. I felt pretty exposed, going from invincible doctor to vulnerable patient. But it's not just the grid. I dug a little deeper and soon discovered that, along with the grid, our entire country's infrastructure, like clean water, solid waste disposal, wastewater disposal, and hazardous waste disposal, is hanging by a thread. That's all infrastructure the entire medical system depends on. And, get this, the price tag to fix just the grid is $177 billion. The government would have to eliminate the education budget of $62 billion for 3 straight years to fix just one component of our failing infrastructure. In other words, fixing anything just ain't gonna happen. What makes this worse is that even when not hospitalized, quote, millions of Americans' health and safety is already in jeopardy because of our eggshell-thin infrastructure. All it takes is the smallest nudge to push our medical system past the tipping point. Just like happened during Hurricane Katrina. While many Americans were killed by the initial flooding, the most senseless deaths occurred after the storm, where a whole host of Americans died from complications due to existing illnesses, diseases, or injuries. When the medical system utterly failed in 4, 5, 6. Many even died in local hospitals simply waiting for treatment. 7. History's repeating itself. Again, history seems to be on repeat right now in Wuhan, China, the epicenter of the latest epidemic. It's not that the latest virus is that deadly, it's that hospitals are overrun, and patients aren't getting the attention they deserve. 8. Many with other life-threatening conditions are being told to leave to make room for those with the virus. Pulling at the thread now. The more I pulled at this thread, the more the system unraveled before me. Once I started noticing the cracks in the foundation, the more I saw them everywhere. As I considered the system keeping me healthy during a crisis, it started to make me laugh. Why? The system wasn't even keeping me healthy without a crisis. Doctor, heal themselves, here's what I mean. I'd been delegating my own to the system for decades, asking tough questions, and I started to ask myself some tough questions. Like, how was that actually working out? I had high blood pressure that was managed with pills. I had high cholesterol that was being managed by more pills. I had even been recently diagnosed as type 2. The answer? You guess it, more pills. All told, I had been on 6 different prescriptions for years. Nothing ever got better. It seemed like I was taking pills just so things wouldn't get worse. Which is no way to live. I soon became haunted by a simple question. That once it took hold in my mind. I couldn't shake it. What if it was possible to get and stay healthy? Inside of a crisis, or outside of one? Without relying on the fragile, expensive healthcare system most of us have been strapped to all our lives? What if we didn't play by the rules of the medical establishment, what would we do? At first, this was a hard question to even entertain. At first, I felt like I was betraying my profession. But then, I realized that my blind faith in the system for so many years was an actual betrayal of my own health. Not to mention the health and well-being of my family. It was time to follow my research into alternatives, wherever it led. I soon began to notice herbal remedies, and food as medicine remedies, showing up in my research. Honestly, I'd always been skeptical of what I thought were simply old wives' tales or legends from far-off lands. I'd always held anything besides Western medicine in disdain. But eventually, a cascade of evidence began to change my mind. For starters, if these plant-based remedies were simply folklore, myths, and fairy tales, and they didn't work, why would indigenous people pass them down from generation to generation? Then, it hit me, if these natural remedies were simply old wives' tales, then why are the vast majority of pharmaceutical drugs based on natural plant extracts? With this new mindset, I was ready to arm myself with the remedies that would keep me and my family healthy and safe inside any crisis, as well as outside. Crisis-proof cultures? I started by studying ancient indigenous cultures with rich histories of natural healing remedies. Cultures who scoff at the threat natural disasters pose to their ongoing health, because their remedies were untouched by the threat of crises. Soon, a powerful list of natural ingredients and remedies began to emerge, which I immediately began checking against scientific research. I was amazed at how many of these ingredients and remedies stood up to the hard scrutiny of scientific, double-blind, placebo-controlled research studies. Then, I began to contact modern experts who had been practicing these same healing modalities for decades. I asked them questions like they were coming from a machine gun. They were tolerant with me, and pointed me to mountains of scientific research studies that backed up their claims. Big Pharma, free. I soon noticed that virtually none of these studies were sponsored by Big Pharma, which is pretty rare these days. My list of scientifically backed natural ingredients and remedies was growing like crazy. And the vast majority of these so-called backyard remedies had undergone brutal scrutiny in research labs right here in the US, and had come out with spectacular results, which told me these were the exact remedies I needed to opt out of the system and make me and my family's health bulletproof in a crisis. For example, a team of researchers from leading universities in Michigan and Florida discovered the strange Asian root that, when combined with the common kitchen spice that's in your kitchen right now, increased its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory powers by up to 2000%. As I thought this through, it just made sense. Anyone struggling with joint pain, infections, or any other health condition where inflammation is a factor, the list is huge, would be up a creek without a paddle in a crisis, once the pharmacies were looted. So, stocking up on this simple root, and this kitchen spice, is beyond easy, and cheap, and can make you as immune to disasters as those indigenous cultures. Then, there's the Sunshine Surprise remedy that helps lift the burden of stress, pressure, and anxiety. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine found that when you combine these unique flowers the right way, it significantly reduced stress, pressure, and anxiety. What will the majority of Americans do during the next crisis, when the pressure to survive is at an all-time high, and societal unrest is in the red zone? Stress, pressure, and anxiety will never be greater. How fast do you think anxiety meds will disappear? Armed with this remedy, you'll be sitting in the catbird seat, calm, cool, collected. Then, why this one herb, scientifically researched by the Michigan University of Health 13, is a near bullet-proof pain relief remedy. Finally, A powerful all-natural alternative to the traditional approach to pain relief pills. Exploring survival medicine. This naturally led my journey of discovery to connect with experts in survival and emergency medicine. I'd always wondered why the media portrayed these survival experts as a little on the fringe. But I soon discovered the media portrayal was nothing more than a caricature. What they shared with me was not only above and beyond generous, but it surprised me how simple, practical and effective it was. It reminded me of my years in the Boy Scouts. Be prepared, where be prepared was not only the motto, it was a way of life. Before I knew it, I had an impressive collection of scientifically proven natural health remedies. Remedies that can help any American fight disease, relieve pain, boost energy, and stay healthy, in or out of a crisis. Giving anyone the confidence and peace of mind that you can be sitting pretty when the system goes down and access to hospitals and clinics simply isn't an option. When I finally counted them all up, I found I'd collected more than 100 of these natural remedies. But I knew I wasn't finished. You see, all this research was all fine and dandy. But it was all on paper. There was one more round of evidence I needed these remedies to pass before I was convinced. My own health. Like I mentioned earlier, I was on 6 medications. I had meds for type 2, for high blood pressure and high cholesterol. I was also on NSAIDs, anti-inflammatories, for my joint pain as well as anti-anxiety meds. Could these natural remedies pass the test where it mattered most? Could these natural remedies succeed where the medical system had failed? I was determined to find out. Could this doctor heal myself? I started with my high blood sugar, since it scared me the most. I started taking that woody vine I mentioned earlier that means sugar destroyer. The research said that daily supplementation could help reduce the amount of glucose and unhealthy fats in the bloodstream, as well as help decrease body fat. Plus there was a common kitchen spice plus the extract from a common yard weed that I'd read was effective in supporting high blood sugar. Together, what I called my blood sugar rescue remedy helped my A1C numbers go from 185 all the way down to 97. Plus, I lost 50 pounds. Which meant I could toss my blood sugar meds. I honestly thought I'd experienced a miracle. But it didn't stop there, not by a long shot. I discovered the herbal remedy that helped me take my blood pressure from the red zone of crisis, the green zone of normal. Armed with these successes, I repeated these victories with the rest of my conditions. The powerful anti-inflammatory remedies I mentioned earlier helped erase the ache in my achy joints. And I discovered the unique remedy that helped my bad cholesterol, LDL, go from 250 all the way down to 100. In a matter of months, I'd lost 50 pounds. I'd gone from the crisis zone with my high blood sugar, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol, back to the normal zone. My numbers looked like I was still in my 20s. What's more, I was able to throw away all my prescriptions. This removed any risk of side effects from all those chemicals I'd been throwing into my body. And I saved a bundle of cash on my RX co-pays. To top it all off, I hadn't felt this good since my college days. Clearly, individual results will vary. But these remedies had passed my personal health test with flying colors. I was astounded. Word started to get out, so I started sharing these remedies with my family and friends, and a few colleagues. Some were living in big cities, dying for the chance to opt out of the medical system they'd lost faith in. Others were living off-grid, but didn't have access to the science-based studies and remedies I'd discovered. There were so many who experienced the same powerful results I'd experienced, that I knew it was my patriotic duty to make this available public. Every American deserves access to the same powerful information that can help them opt out of the modern medical system. Everyone deserves the peace of mind that they can be healthier than ever, safer than ever, more confident than ever. That come what may, they have the one health tool to survive virtual. A big-time publisher. At first, I thought about taking my collection of 100 remedies to a big-time publisher. I figured as a successful doctor, I'd have no trouble landing a book deal to get this information to the American public. But as I thought about it, it dawned on me that the American mainstream probably wouldn't be very excited about this information. Plus, I knew that there would be many within the medical system who would fight against a project like this tooth and nail. But since the system is so broken, and since we're already living on borrowed time, It made more sense to speak to everyday Americans directly, without the mainstream marketing machine. Besides, I'd been playing by the corporate rules for decades, and frankly, I was so done with that. I decided to make this first-of-its-kind resource available directly to you, the American public. That's why I'm proud to present to you the Doctor's Book of Survival Home Remedies. It's the all-in-one health resource, with everything anyone might ever need to opt out of the modern medical system, yet be healthier and safer than ever, virtually immune to whatever crisis may come down the pike. It's truly the only health survival encyclopedia I know of. In fact, it's 439 pages. Chock full of over 100 scientifically researched natural home remedies that can keep you and your family healthy and safe in any crisis. It's the best health insurance you could possibly have for when the medical system goes belly up, and modern health conveniences go out the window, and survival is on the line. Well, thank you so much for letting me introducing with Dr. John Herzog. I hope you learned something today. You are most welcome to check it out, where from the vendor's side satisfactions is guaranteed 100%. My affiliate link to buy will be given at the end of the descriptions of the video. If you want to follow my channel, please comments, thumb up and subscribe my channel. Thanks for your support and stay safe. Good wish.